Well, we were trying to get the silver car ready for ice cream cruise. So I was doing a bunch of maintenance, and it didn't pan out too well. I decided I was going to change the oil and adjust the valves and all that stuff since the car has, set for long periods of time. Something happened. It happened before. I would have thought this would have gone a little longer. But some years ago, I ended up locking the VTEC on these Pro 1 cams that are in this thing. Having them locked is not good for them. I think mostly it's related to heat coming through the exhaust valve up the stem, and the tip of the valve hitting the rocker pads. I think it just heats up the rocker pads, heats up the oil, and then you get excessive wear. I normally run really good oil in this thing, but since we took it to PFI, I couldn't find the oil local, so I ended up just putting some VR1 in it. I didn't check this before then, so I don't know if the wear was from then to now. Probably has 7 or 8 dyno pulls on it and maybe 5 or 6 eighth mile passes, so not very many. I don't have really heavy springs in this thing for that reason. When I rebuilt this head some time ago, I knew that I was going to do this, so I didn't put a heavy 100-pound spring in it, which a lot of people do. I usually put the 90-pound springs in it. That way with the locked VTEC, you don't put that much pressure on the lobe itself. So with that being said, it's usually the exhaust. I know other people have had this problem, but for me, the 2 times that it's happened, it's been the exhaust cam. So like I said, I'm just chucking it up to heat in the motor, heat in the exhaust valve from 2-step, anti-lag, all that stuff generates, runs right up the valve stem. Valve stem sits on the rocker, or the rocker sits on the valve stem, then it just translates heat up through it. It doesn't take a lot of heat to break down oil, especially something like this. It's considered like a flat tappet design. There's no roller. If this had a roller in it, wouldn't even be an issue. But since it's a flat tappet deal, it's just metal on metal, and you're just hoping that the lubricity of the oil takes care of it. So no bueno. So that just means we're not going to make ice cream cruise, and more than likely this is going to sit until next year. Hopefully by winter time I can acquire some cams. I really don't want to change the setup. I don't want to put a different cam in and have to degree it and change the tune-up and all that shit. I'd rather just put another cam in it. Will it happen again? Probably. I don't know what to do. I planned on taking the motor out this winter to refresh it. Granted, it doesn't have a lot of time on it, but it's been sitting for a long time. And obviously if the oil's getting hot and it's breaking down and tearing up the cam, there's a good chance it's tearing up bearings too. Plus you have that metal from the cam getting in the oil, getting circulated through it. So more than likely it's all going to get plucked out this winter and just re-bearing, cleaned, put back together. And I don't know, I'll figure out a cam issue then, but I don't have the time or the patience to mess with it, nor the money to mess with it right now. So the car is just going to continue to sit. But it is what it is. That's racing. All right, so as you saw there, we had a little cam issue that I realized when we were prepping for ice cream cruise. I was a little, kind of took the wind out of my sails, I finally got the car to go down the track for the first time in a long time. So that was kind of a cool feeling. And then I was like, you know what, this is going to be awesome. We're going to go to another race. I'll get 2 races, or at least, not even races, but 2 times that I can go to the track in 1 year. That was going to be awesome. Sure as crap, I think a couple days later, maybe a week later, something popped up, and Wes Spry had a set of Pro 1 cams used that he was selling. And I hit him up and was like, yo, dude, I need these. He's like, cool, if you want them, they're yours. This is the price, whatever. So, okay, I was like, you got to give me a few days, whatever. So he ended up giving me a week to come up with the money. And I bought them. They showed up today. Great shape. Intake cam's a little, It's got a little bit of wear. Like that one, you can kind of see is a little scored, a little marred up, but nothing too bad. I honestly could probably take it to work and give it a little light polish, soften the edges, all that stuff, and then run some good oil in it and probably be all right. But that's going to be a backup. We're going to save that. And then the cam that's coming out of the car, the exhaust cam that's coming out of it, I'm going to save that as a spare as well. You know, kind of as a backup if something bad were to happen. But this exhaust cam, I mean, this thing hardly even looks like it was used in comparison with the intake cam. So super awesome. Big thanks to Wes for dealing with me on that deal. With that being said, no more cheap oil. I opted for some good, and it showed up today as well. We're going to put some Schaefer's racing oil in this thing. My buddy Nate uses it in his car, and he's got locked Pro ones, never has an issue. That stuff's got really high zinc, and everything I've heard about this Schaefer's oil, I don't even know anybody around here that actually uses it, and nobody around here actually sells it other than like diesel places. From what I understand, Schaefer's is like the oldest oil manufacturer in the country. And they're local to me. They're in St. Louis, so they're just across the edge of across the other side of the state. And I ordered this online yesterday about noon, I'd say, 1 o'clock, and it showed up today. So super awesome. We're going to use that stuff. Bought a case of it. Got a deal on a case. I basically got about 3 oil changes there, so we're good to go there. Obviously, when I put the new cam in, I'll put assembly lube and everything on it. Go through, run the valves. I'm actually going to set the valve lash a little loose on the exhaust side, like I said, for the sake of heat coming through the tip of the valve. Normally I run like 8 thousandths. I think I'm going to run a couple more thousandths, so I'll probably run 10 on the exhaust side just because these things get so much temperature in them. And might even take the intake up to 8 on the intake side. But I think I usually do 7 and 8, but I'm going to take it up because, you know, obviously the stock spec is based on stock driving, stock situation. This is not a stock situation, so we're going to add a little bit of clearance to that, just like you do with piston wall and you know, ring gaps and stuff like that. So I'm going to get this thing apart. We'll get the cam and stuff swapped out and try and get this thing timed, and hopefully we'll be ready to go test. All right, well, we got the cams out. Kind of got everything set out here. Got the new cams down there. The old cam's not super bad, but there was just, like, once I got it out in front of me, like, it probably would have been all right. A little score in there, but about the same as the intake cam that just showed up. So you can see a little bit of chipping there in the core, but I'll probably just take a little file to them, knock those edges down, maybe hit it with a polisher, some Scotch-Brite, and then we'll have a backup cam for a later date if something ever happens. But get the other cam cleaned up, get the gears swapped out, seal and stuff, and we'll start putting that back together, get it fired up, and then change the oil. All right, guys. So I got all my caps and everything cleaned up, the rocker rails and all that stuff. Got them all cleaned and washed, all my bolts, my reusable finishing lines, cam plugs. Got all those all washed up, so all that stuff's ready to go back in the car. Something I want to show you guys. I'm sure most of you guys, if you mess with Honda stuff, you probably know this. Some people don't, because some people always complain about oil leaks on the cylinder head. Normally what I'll do, and I don't normally have any leaks on my cylinder heads, whether it be from the corners of the gaskets like people always have, or a lot of people think these cam seals leak behind the gears, cam plugs leak, whatever. If you look at, say, one of these back caps, this being the exhaust side number 5 cap. So that cap would sit there like so, underneath of the rail. So obviously your gasket rides here and around the perimeter of the cylinder head. So what I normally do is when I put the cam plug in, and you'll do this pretty much on all 4 corners, but you put your cam plug in like that, I will normally put a small dab of Honda Bond right here, right on the edge, right here, and the same thing here, right here. Put a little dab, silicone right there, and then I'll put a little dab over to there, and from here to there, because that cap is what seals to the head. So if you don't put any silicone here, then you have this parting line right here for the cap. There's oil back in here. So oil will seep out of here. And then people will think they got valve covers leaking or whatever. So I do it on all four corners. Back here, do a little bit of silicone. It doesn't take much because it's a machine surface. You know, they're machined together. And a little bit right here. That way, when the valve cover gasket comes up over there, you'll have a little dab of silicone right in each corner of the cap. Like right here, when you put the cap back on it, after you put the silicone there, then a little bit of silicone will come out right there at that parting line. And that's good because then when you put the valve cover gasket on, it will hold that gasket right there, and then you'll have a seal there too. You know, they'll kind of seal together. And I do the same over here. This one, since this part of the head doesn't come all the way out to here, I just put a little dab right here on the edge of this, so then it gets on the inside of this where the seal sits, and then there'll be a little bit right on the edge of this cylinder head. So when you set the seal down in it, it'll kind of come out to the ends and the cap will go down and it'll seal right across there. You know, little dab right here. You'll come up, it'll sit on top of this surface here and have a little bit on the inside where the seal sits. And that will seal this part right here that connects the two of them together to keep the oil from coming out past it. Same thing here, same thing here. So like I said, little dab, little dab, little dab, little dab, a little bit bigger dab, little dab, little dab, little bit bigger dab, so on and so forth. And then when you torque all that down, like I said, you'll see the silicone come right out of the edge of those caps, and that's okay because you're going to put as long as you do it when the silicone's still wet. You don't want to wait till it dries and then come back, because then that's going to be hard and you'll have a little bubble of hard silicone there, and then the valve cover gasket will never seal. So make sure you do it when everything is still wet. So also, don't forget that O-ring and that dowel. That causes a lot of problems as well. But anyways, we're going to get back to throwing these cams in this thing, getting everything put back in time, and then we'll get this thing fired up. So, got the cams back in the car. Got them timed, I think. Good thing with this balancer here, you can see it. There's a TDC mark, and then I've got the factory cover on it, and I marked that little tang. That's the TDC mark on the timing cover. It's close. I marked these. They're close. So I could go through, pull the hub off of it, pull the cover off of it, go through all that again. Don't think I'm gonna. And that's probably stupid. But apparently that's what gets all kinds of likes and views and comments and stuff on YouTube. You just do dumb stuff. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do dumb stuff. And I start it up and blows up. Maybe it'll get me some views here. And maybe definitely won't be worth the while or worth the money. But, you know, got to spend money to make money, right? Got everything, like I said, timed. I got to go through, loosen up all the rocker arms, go through, set the valve lash. Like I said, I am going to change my normal spec on the valve lash. I'm going to change that up a little bit. And then got everything sealed, did my silicone in the gaps there. I think my front seals are good. I kind of felt like they moved a little. But, I mean, they kind of look straight. So I guess we'll find out there if they start puking oil everywhere. But what I'm going to do now, like I said, I'm going to go through, set the valve lash. I'll put the valve cover back on it, put the cam sensor trigger thing back on it. I've got VR1 in it, but we are putting the Schaefer's oil in it. But since I put assembly lube and stuff on the cam, I'll start it up with the assembly lube on it. Maybe let it get warm, and then I'll drain it, and then put the Schaefer's in it with a new filter and stuff. And we should be good to go there. And then once that's done, once I get it warmed up and whatnot, I'll go ahead and check the timing as well. So I'm running out, I'm out of daylight at this point, so I don't know if I'll get to do that tonight. Just depends on how fast I, burn through this. But yeah, let's just keep going. We'll get this thing fired up here shortly. All right, so I got the valve lash all set. Setting valve lash with locked rockers. Huge VTEC. Setting the valve lash with the locked VTEC rockers is a real pain in the ass because, you're running it off the center lobe all the time. So you would think you want to adjust it with that center one. But if you set the valve lash with the center lobe and just kind of teeter-tottered the two, you know, rockers themselves and set it to this, then these ones here are really tight. And I think that's why I'm getting like heat through the rocker arms, because there's too, like the valve lash is too tight, like normal valve lash. And you're getting heat transferring through those, and it's going up in the cam. Well, they're, you know, you're just getting that all hot right there, but the only lobe that's hitting is this one, so it's wearing that lobe out. So I went through and I set the valve lash a couple thou bigger, and then set it with the outer two instead of the center one. And I think that's gonna be the ticket. I adjusted them both the same, so I took it up 2 thou. So it's 7 and 8. I did 9 and 10, so I added a couple thou to it. It may be a little bit noisy whenever you start it up, but since I'm running straight 50 weight oil, I don't think you'll notice it. And then, you know, just for the added heat that this thing generates versus a stock engine, I think it's ideal to add a little bit of valve lash to it. So I'm gonna go ahead and get the valve cover on, throw the coil packs and stuff on it, put the cam trigger on, and then I'll go ahead and, it's got oil, fresh oil in it and stuff. I got to put fuel in it because the tank's empty. And then I'll start it up, let it warm up, let the oil kind of break down the assembly lube for the cams. I'll set the timing on it, make sure that's good to make sure I didn't get the tooth off. Assuming I set it up right, when I go and lock it, it should be spot on because that's how we set it before. So since it's already been set, I'll know if this is a tooth off if it doesn't match. But we'll get this knocked out, get it filled up with fuel, and we'll start it up, roll it outside real quick. New cams in it. Still got to set the timing, but I'm going to let it get a little bit warm. I'll put it back in the garage, drain the oil, put the fresh Schaefer's oil in it, and then we'll work on getting the timing set, and should be good to go. All right, guys. Well, we got the car fired up, got it running. Haven't checked the timing yet, mainly because it's late now, and I'm gonna have to let it run for a little while to do it, and I just got to pull the coil pack back out of it and all that stuff. But yeah, it runs back together. One odd thing though, now it wants to idle high. Riggs is here, my buddy Riggs Garage. Go check him out. He's got all kinds of cool stuff. I'm actually was yelling at him just a minute ago because he needs to post a video. It's been like 7 months. He's slacking, and his channel does way better than mine. But anyways, got it running. It idles high now. I don't know if that's a good or bad thing. Like I said, I should have gone through and redegreed the cams. One, since I changed the belt tension, because even if you change the tension on the belt just a little bit, it will affect how you degree the cam. So it's obviously affected something in a manner that it's causing it to run or idle high. And it could just be because I need to go back in and reset timing. Maybe it's just the timing's off a couple degrees, making it idle high. And that's very, very possible. But I probably should have degreed the cams. It's going to be close. And yeah, I had to reset the air gap on the T1 cam trigger here. The air gap was off, and I think it's because it was a different cam. I think the old cam, like the snout of it, was maybe just a little bit different in spec, so the cam gear is set in a different spot. But yeah, so I got that set, got it running. Obviously, you saw there it was sitting idling good too. It just idled high. So we'll have to mess with the timing whenever I get more time tomorrow. But I'll got to get the oil changed. We'll get the good oil in it, and we should be ready to go for IFO Topeka. But we still got to get the windshield done in it and stuff too. So got to get some money gathered up for that. Hopefully I'll have time to get some side work done so I can get some money to get the windows replaced in it since it's cracked. But We got her fixed. She's back together. I feel a little bit better now. So anyways, yeah, we're getting there. We got IFO Topeka October 22nd, and then there's an IFO in Tulsa, Oklahoma as well in November. We're going to try and make 2 as long as Topeka goes well. But anyways, that's going to do it for this video, guys. Thanks for watching. Keep following. We'll see you on the next one.